Every year, more than 12 million drivers cross the California-Nevada border on their way to Las Vegas. Right at that line sits Primm, once the first taste of casino life before the Strip. Today, Buffalo Bills has shut down after 31 years. Whiskey Pete's is closed, and only one property still runs. The roller coaster is silent, the outlet mall nearly empty. For most travelers, it's just a blur on the highway. But for Nevada, it's a warning sign. So, what happened to this town that used to greet every traveler entering Nevada? Primm was once more than a pit stop. In the 1990s, it offered Californians their first real taste of Nevada: cheap rooms, free parking, and a record-breaking roller coaster. Families stop to shop at the outlet mall and fill their tanks before the final 35-mile drive to Las Vegas. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, everything paused. Visitor numbers never returned to what they were. Meanwhile, new tribal casinos opened closer to Los Angeles, and travelers found newer, easier options. What's happening in Primm isn't just about a few closed casinos. It reflects a larger shift in how Americans travel, spend, and gamble. To understand that change, we need to look at the 5 forces that reshaped this border town. In March 2020, Nevada's casinos went dark for 78 days, the longest closure in state history. Las Vegas eventually bounced back, but Primm never did. When Buffalo Bills shut its doors that spring, more than 1,700 rooms instantly vanished from the local market. Even after restrictions lifted, reopening was delayed, staff were gone, and tourism habits had changed. By 2022, statewide casino revenue hit record highs, yet Primm's hotels operated at less than 30% capacity. One former employee told the Review-Journal, "People just stopped coming. Once you close that long, they forget you exist." The pandemic didn't just pause Primm, it erased it from travelers' routines. But COVID was only the trigger. Deeper forces kept the town from coming back. And the next one came from across the border. Before the pandemic, weekend travelers from Los Angeles made Primm their halfway stop. But over the last decade, California's tribal casinos have changed that route completely. Resorts like Yamava in San Bernardino and Pechanga in Temecula now offer luxury rooms, concerts, and gaming just 2 hours from LA. No state border, no 6-hour drive. According to the American Gaming Association, tribal casino revenue in California grew by more than 20% between 2019 and 2023, while Nevada's smaller border towns saw steady declines. One Reddit user who once stayed at Primm wrote, "Why drive 6 hours when I can gamble 90 minutes from home?" That sentiment spread fast. What used to be Nevada's first advantage, its early casinos, became irrelevant once California built its own. The rise of tribal resorts didn't just steal customers, it redefined convenience. And as gamblers stayed closer to home, Primm's outlet mall faced a different kind of collapse. For years, Primm's outlet mall was its second lifeline. Families from Southern California stopped for brands like Coach, Nike, and Levi's before heading to Las Vegas. At its peak in the early 2000s, the Primm outlets hosted more than 100 stores and drew 3 million visitors a year. But as online shopping surged and California built its own premium outlets in Cabazon and Ontario, Primm's mall lost its reason to exist. By 2018, half the storefronts were empty. During the pandemic, most of the remaining chains left for good. When reporters visited in 2024, they found a single thrift shop and faded murals where luxury logos once hung. The parking lot that used to be packed with buses is now filled with dust and silence. What was once a symbol of border town prosperity became a case study in retail decay. And as shopping disappeared, so did the people who worked there. a loss that would push ownership to make a very different choice. When Primm's casinos were first built, each had its own identity. Buffalo Bill's with its Wild West theme, Whiskey Pete's with its castle facade, and Primm Valley with the connected outlet mall. But over the years, ownership shifted, and the individuality disappeared. By the mid-2010s, all three properties were under Affinity Gaming, a company focused more on efficiency than nostalgia. After the pandemic, Affinity scaled back operations, concentrating on its most profitable property, Primm Valley Resort. Buffalo Bill's was reduced to event-only status, opening a few weekends a year, while Whiskey Pete's closed completely. A former manager told News 3LV, "They decided to stop bleeding money. It wasn't about keeping Primm alive. It was about cutting losses." The result is a smaller, quieter footprint and a town that feels half asleep. Corporate strategy saved the balance sheet, but it hollowed out the experience. And when distance is the final deciding factor, even the best business plan can't compete with geography. Over time, Las Vegas didn't just grow. It expanded like a gravity field. New suburbs, outlet centers, and mega resorts stretched south toward the state line, absorbing everything in their path. What used to be a 40-minute desert drive from Primm to the Strip is now lined with gas stations, warehouses, and billboards pulling travelers forward. For most Californians, stopping 35 miles early no longer makes sense when the same chains, prices, and rewards programs wait in Las Vegas itself. In 1996, Primm offered one of the first roller coasters in southern Nevada. By 2024, there were more than 30 major thrill rides within the Strip's resorts. As Vegas centralized its attractions, small towns like Primm lost their reason to exist. The Strip became not just a destination, but an ecosystem that drained demand from everywhere else. Primm wasn't defeated by failure. It was erased by Las Vegas's success. And that pattern is now repeating in other corners of Nevada. Primm's decline is part of a bigger American pattern, the disappearance of towns that once lived off the space between cities. Across Nevada, places like Jaw and Tonopah face the same reality. Progress made them unnecessary. Faster highways, shorter drives, and digital booking pushed travelers straight to Las Vegas. Economists at UNLV call it the corridor collapse, where growth erases small economies along the way. Affinity Gaming's Primm 2.0, with new dining spots and a $4 million sign, aims only to survive beside the Strip, not compete with it. The rest depends on whether travelers still see value in stopping. Primm didn't fail. It was left behind by a faster world. Primm's silence tells a simple story: how quickly the world moves on. Every road trip once had small stops that gave the journey its shape. Now, most people drive past without a second thought. Maybe that's just how things work. Or maybe it's something worth thinking about. How many other places are fading the same way? If stories like this matter to you, consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts below. Every story of decline is also a story of change, and the next one might be closer than you think.